Good morning, grade 4's.
Good morning, Miss Clayton.
Welcome to Maths in the Classroom. We are going to be doing a recap of short multiplication before we move on to something better. So, if you remember, we are doing 24 times 3. Remember, we're saying 4 times 3 and 20 times 3. So, let's begin. 4 times 3 is 12, so I put my 2 from my units over there and my 1 from my 10 over there. Don't forget your place value so that you don't get confused. And then you have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and therefore my answer is 72. Now we are going to move on to long multiplication. And we're not only timesing by one digit now, we are timesing by 2. So we are going to do the sum 24 times 13. But I brought a special guest to help you with today's sums. So let me welcome our guest.
Good morning, Miss Clayton, and good morning, grade 4's.
Good morning, Mr. Phil. We need to stay 1.5 meters apart.
Please and thank you. Right.
Here we go.
Thank you very much, and let's get started, grade 4's. Before we start, we need to know which column would be the units and the tens. So we're going to put the units above here and the tens above here. Now, as you saw in the previous question like that, Miss Clayton, what she did first is she said 3 times 4 and 3 times 2. So let's do the same over here. What is 3 times 4? Yes, that's right. It is 12. So we're going to put a 2 at the bottom below the 3. And then we're going to carry the 10s over to the 2 like that. And now we're going to say, okay, 3 times 2, we all know that becomes 6, plus the extra 1, that becomes 7. And because of that, we focused on the 3 with the 24. Now what's going to happen, Mr. Fulp? Well, I'm going to tell you what happens next. Because we are now focusing on the 1 over here, in the 13, we are focusing on the tens column. What we are immediately going to do is completely block out the 3, and you can put your thumb over the 3, and then because we are blocking out the 3, we're just going to write a 0 at the bottom. I don't mind if you add it in color, or if you use it as the same color as what you're writing in. Now that we are completely ignoring this 3 over here, let's take a look at this over here. Now everyone, we know that 1 times 4 is 4. But where we're going to write this 4, we're going to write it next to the 0 and underneath the tens column over here. Now that we've done 1 times 4, we now have to go to the next column over here, which is 1 times 2. And we all know that that is 2. And where we're going to write that is next to the 4 over here. Now, once that is all done, we have now worked out what 24 times 3 is and what 24 times 10 is. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the numbers in this box over here and we're going to add them together. Now, let's do that together. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to try to do this by yourself. And once you're done, we're going to go through it together. Right, let's do this together. If we go from 2 to the 0, we know that that's going to stay as 2. If we say 7 plus 4, that becomes 11. We're going to add the 1 at the bottom. Now what happens to that other 10? We're going to add it to the 2. And now we don't have anything at the top, but we have a 2 at the bottom. And because we carried that 10 over with the 2, 2 plus 1 becomes 3. And that becomes your answer. Right, if you got that answer, please give yourself a nice big tick next to your... Right, now for our second example. With this example, we're going to be looking at 32 times by 15. And what I want you to do, please, is put the units above the units column and the tens above the tens column. As you can see what I've done over here. Right, now let's get to timesing. The first number that we're going to want to times them all together is we're going to use the 5 in the units column. So let's put a little mark next to that 5 because that's the first number that we're going to use to times into 32. Right, so the first number we're going to do is 5 times by 2 over here. And 5 times 2, we know that that becomes 10. So for the units of 10, we're going to put the 0 underneath the 5 and the 2, and we're going to carry the 1 over under the tens column. We are then going to say 5 times 3, and 5 times 3 we know becomes 15, and then we have to add on the 1 over here, which makes it 16. So we're going to put the 6 of 16 under the tens column, and add the 1 in the column to the left. Now that we've done that, I'm going to get rid of these arrows just so that they don't confuse you. And I'm going to put a line through this one because we don't need to use it anymore. We are now going to focus not on the 5, but on the 1 in the tens column. So now, before we say 1 times 2 and 1 times 3, what do you think we are going to do in this space over here? I'm going to give you 2 seconds. What we are going to do is we're just going to put a 0 there. And the reason we are putting a 0 underneath the units column is because we're not using the 5. We are completely blocking that away. That makes it nothing. And that's why we put a 0 below the 5. Now, we can start doing our timesing in the tens column. So we're first going to say 1 times 2. And 1 times 2, we know that that becomes 2. And 1 times 3 is 3. And we're going to put that over there. And just to make sure that we did the right thing, we're going to put them in brackets on the right hand side here. So for this one, we said 32 times by 5. And with this one over here, we're going to say 32 times by 10. And now we know that we have done the right thing when working these out. But we're not done just yet. Now we need to add them together. Right. So we're first going to work from the right hand side and make our way to the left hand side. So 0 plus 0, we know that that is 0. 6 plus 2, we know that that is 8. And finally 1 plus 3, we know that that becomes 4. So our final answer is 480. What you can do is you can write it up above here. And if you got that right, whilst I was presenting this video, please give yourself a nice big tick down below. So, before this video ends, does anyone have any questions?
Me.
Right, I see you have a question. I'm going to leave now. Bye.
Move on to long multiplication. Don't know why I can't say this word today.
Okay, go.
First number that you're going to...
Go.
So,
Clayton.
yes, I see you have a question. Hold it for... No, cancel.